But today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of international marriage. And my wife never watches these episodes. She always hears about these episodes from her friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Her friends watch it, but she doesn't watch it. So they'll say, "Hey, why did Arthur say this on the channel?" And she's like, "He did?" Yeah. はい、こんにちは、アーサーです。今日はですね、友達のオースティンと国際結婚のリアルについて話した動画をお届けしたいと思います。僕もオースティンも日本人の妻と結婚しているんですが、日本ではですね、当たり前のことが僕たちには全然当たり前じゃなくて、今でも混乱することがあるんですよ。で、日本人にとっては普通のことが外国人の目にはどう見えているのか、これ本当に興味深い文化の違いなんですよね。でちなみに初めてこのチャンネルを見てくれている方、ようこそ本当に嬉しいです。Thanks for watching this channel. だからこのビデオシリーズについて説明させてください。僕が日本語を勉強していた時、たくさん勉強したんですけど、実際に日本に来たら全然話せなくて本当に悔しかったです。でもその経験のおかげで気づいたんです。実際に話せるようになるためには、勉強するだけじゃなくて実際に使うことが大切だって。本当の会話に触れることが必要なんですね。でも学習用の英会話動画って学習者向けに作られていて、ゆっくりだったり簡単だったり本当の英語じゃないことが多いんですよね。だからこれらの動画は僕が日本語を学んでいた時に本当に欲しかった動画です。セリフもない、本当に普通の友達同士の自然な会話で字幕もついているので理解度もチェックできます。でこれらの動画は見るだけでも楽しいかもしれないんですけど、もし実際に英語を話せるようになりたいなら他にもする必要があることがあります。でそれについては、この動画の最後でお話しします。まずはこの動画を楽しんでください。
I'm pretty sure my wife watches every episode.
Hi, Yui.
I see her watching like us.
Oh yeah?
Usually like late at night, like when we're about to go to bed, she watches like YouTube or something laying down. And I'll see our ugly mugs on the screen.
When he says ours, he means his. I'm beautiful.
Well, I mean, I just wanted to include myself so you don't feel bad.
Okay, well, thanks, man. Yeah, that'd be something interesting to ask if like who our audience thinks is more attractive, because we're both ugly Oji-san now, but
we've gotten old.
We have gotten old. It's funny because like we started like 4 years ago when I was like 31.
Dude, was it only? What was it not 5 years ago?
No, it was definitely like 2022.
Oh, it's gonna be 5 this summer, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
But it's funny though. You can see the degeneration over time.
Dude, we went downhill fast.
What's funny though is like because we started this right after you got out of your breakup and you were all into self-improvement, going to the gym all the time.
I was at a lean.
Yeah.
I was at a lean 90 kilograms. Working out every day.
Yeah.
I was meal prepping.
Yeah.
I used to ride my bike across Tamagawa.
Yeah. I remember.
To meet up and film.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I was all into fitness.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to be Austin's personal trainer for free, he'll talk to you in English, but you can give him gym lessons or whatever. That might help out.
Yeah.
I
need more than a personal trainer. I need 2 things. I need a time machine, and then I need my own personal gym.
Why do you need a time machine?
Because I don't have freaking time to work out right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, it's because your commute is deadly.
Yeah, the commute. It's not so bad.
It's like an hour and a half each way.
It is, but
dude, that would kill me.
Yeah, it's a long commute.
Yeah, if they had like a gym inside of the green cars or something, that would be great.
Dude, I would be lifting weights on the train the whole time.
I bet you. They should
be cool.
They should have like a gym car where like
a gym car.
A gym car where like but it would be tough to do with free weights because they're so heavy. I'm sure like it would rock. But if you could figure out the physics of that, and then you give people like they pay like $20 because people pay like Rise Up, you know?
Yeah.
Or not Rise Up, the Choco Zap, you know? It's like $30 a month to use that thing. Yeah. Like I'm sure people would do that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
JR. Business idea. Talk to me if you want details.
Yeah.
It's my idea. So, but yeah, so your wife watches. My wife doesn't watch this, but she hears it from her friends. So, and we're going to be talking about the pros and cons.
Yeah.
So where would you like to start?
You know, where does it feel the most natural to start? Because here's the thing, like
misconceptions about.
I mean, there's what would you say is the biggest misconception about like being a foreigner married to a Japanese person?
Well, so you have two sides of that. You have like for the foreign people who want to get married to Japanese people, and then you have the Japanese people who want to get married to foreign people.
Well, let's talk about from the foreign perspective, because that's something that we're more familiar with.
Well, yeah. So I know a lot of people have this.
I gotta stop doing this, man. I do this. I gotta.
Yeah, gotta put them,
get better posture.
I know, right?
Yeah, I've been slouching a lot lately.
I know, it's just because you're getting old. This is like, we're not even talking about the pros and cons of international marriage. We're just talking about how old we got. People who have been watching our podcasts, check out our YouTube channel. You'll know.
Or don't if you
if you want to keep on respecting us. Don't look at our YouTube channel. But yes, So I remember when I would tell some American guys that I was married to a Japanese woman, they'd be like, "Man, you're so lucky. She must do all the housework and like give you sex whenever you want. She's just like your submissive little toy kind of thing, you know?" Because there's like a real stereotype that Asian women are like that, you know? Particularly Japanese women are like that. And I like that we have a more equal-footed relationship, you know?
I was just ready for you to just be like, it's the exact opposite.
Well, I can't say that, but it's a much more egalitarian, like equal relationship. That's for sure.
You know, it's kind of funny because God, this is weird knowing that my wife is going to watch this video, but I do want to comment on this. So when I first met my wife, and we got into a relationship, our relationship felt really different from basically any relationship I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, that's why you got married so fast.
Yeah, I mean, we met and I was just like, yeah, I mean, this is it. This is the deal. But what felt different is every time I ask, like, you know, opinions from my wife, or from you, I haven't mentioned her name. I'm always like the final say.
Yeah.
And I'm at a point now, like we've been married a little bit now, so I'm comfortable with it now. But I remember when we first met, and I would always ask her opinion on stuff like, oh, what should we do for this? Or, you know, what about this? And like, she would always reply with like, oh, どっちでもいい. Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
You know, what do you think? And I didn't find that frustrating when we first met. Because like I said, we've had a great relationship, but it was very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
Because that is completely different from how I was raised.
Yeah.
Right? So as an American man raised up in the USA, you know, you're raised being told that like women are equal and no one's opinion is better than the others, and you guys have to both like
it's 50-50 completely.
Yeah, you have to like democratically come to conclusions on things. You like both have to. It's like this discussion that like builds up, and then you both come to the same conclusion. But that's not how my relationship is.
Yeah,
that's not how my marriage is. There's very clearly a emphasis that like she wants me to make the decision for something, right?
Yeah.
And that was something that I had a really hard time adjusting to.
Yeah.
I felt very uncomfortable about it. I felt like I was like pushing her, you know, like, oh, you know, I keep saying like, these are what I want to do. Like, am I forcing her? And then like, I kind of gradually over time realized it's like, okay, well, she wants me to make the decision, but she wants me to think about like what her wants and feelings are. And that I should make a decision that incorporates that. Yeah. So like there's a lot of responsibility on deciders, man.
I know. Well, that's probably one of the reasons
it's a
why.
Lot of stress.
Well, here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
And I see this in my life too, is it's a lot easier to put down someone's plan than to make your own plan.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to say, no, let's not do that versus, hey, let's go do this.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I understand that too. I think for me, especially, I think this is probably because of cultural differences more than anything, is I had a really hard time having conversations with my wife about ideas and opinions.
Yeah.
Not because she didn't have opinions, but because in Japan, you don't really voice your opinions directly.
Okay.
Like you kind of do it subconsciously. Like if I were to say, hey, let's go do this, she would say, oh no, I don't want to do that. That's fine. But when I talk to her about what she thinks about this or what she thinks about this, or, she would communicate to me her feelings and stuff in a very indirect way. Yeah. And it was almost like I had to decode it. I had to really understand what was going on. And I think that's just a part of normal human dynamics. But
I think so.
In relationships in Japan, I think it goes to another level because there's so much of read the room, read the air here, And I remember at the beginning, she was like, Arthur, why do I need to tell you everything so directly? She didn't use the words, but she was basically saying, are you stupid?
Yeah. I think another thing that's another challenge that I think a lot of international couples have here is this is just a cultural barrier thing, but in our previous episode we talked about how showing affection hugs and saying I love you and kissing a lot and doing displays of affection. That's a really common thing in Western culture. Yeah. Especially in the US. And I'm an affectionate person, right? So it's when I'm with my family, with my wife, when I'm with my kids, I kiss them. Yeah. Right? And I'm very touchy and I hug my kids and my wife a lot. It's funny because we talked about in the other episode, I hate hugging.
Yeah, right.
It's these three people in my life are the only exceptions.
Yeah, right.
Right? But a lot of that is not reciprocated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. It's very, very one way.
I think a lot of people kind of misinterpret that.
Yeah.
Especially when they're new to Japanese culture, that people are very cold or uncaring.
Yeah.
That's I often hear that about people talking about their Japanese partners. Yeah. Where it's just oh, this person's just so cold and they just they don't understand my feelings and they never try to comfort me or do that kind of thing. And I think I think both of us have been here a while where we can kind of notice that that's actually not true.
Yeah.
And it's it's just shared in different ways, but that's one of the big hurdles I think as a foreigner here and you get in a relationship.
I mean, I remember because in my family we always say I love you, we always hug. Yeah. And it's not like I'm totally disaffectionate with my wife, we hug all the time and stuff, But I remember some years ago, I was like, hey, you never say you love me. Do you dislike me or something? And she just kind of okay, and here's another thing where she kind of scoffed at me a little bit. She doesn't always put me down all the time. She's
Arthur
nice.
Complaining about his wife.
No, I don't mean it like that. But so what she basically said was you need me to tell you that I love you every day for you to really feel that? Really?
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to make a difference? And I was like, actually, that kind of makes sense. She's like, if I had to say it, it's almost like I'm pretending to you. Yeah. And I get that, because a lot of people, they project. And so a lot of people, they perform as something that they want to be that they're really not. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now she does I never say I love you to my wife, but we obviously love each other. Yeah. Yeah. Our relationships gets better every year,
Yeah.
So that was another thing is the very clear low context communication style versus high context not clear communication style. But one thing though that is really complicated that I don't think many people think about, I think especially since now couples kind of get together on their own for love. Before it used to be that families would introduce each other, but now that you have you and me, we just kind of found our wives on our own, right?
Yeah.
No one talks about the in-laws.
Yeah, it's really funny because I talk with so like, I've obviously I've got a lot of foreign friends here because that's just the nature of being a foreigner.
Yeah.
You just kind of branch out
Mhm.
naturally through these groups, right? And basically every person that I've talked to,
Mhm.
when I bring up like, what's it like, visiting your in-laws?
Yeah.
You always hear the same story. Yeah, they're kind of standoffish and they don't really want to like really be invested in our lives. And, it's just kind of awkward. And to be honest, I don't really like going back.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of funny because I have like a really great relationship with my
Mhm.
in-laws. Like,
Yeah.
Yui calls them like almost every day.
Yeah.
And like I talk to them on the phone like almost every day.
Yeah.
And like we do video call. Like it's mostly because of the kids, right?
Yeah,
But,
right.
Like,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, we have a fantastic relationship. Like
Mhm.
I have a good time every time I go down
Yeah.
and visit them. So
Yeah, I'm kind of like in the middle. So
Yeah.
I remember I used to feel a lot of stress because I really wanted them to like me.
yeah,
And because I knew I'm like the foreign guy and I wanted like your relationship with your in-laws is almost as important as your relationship with your wife, I think,
is.
because they
I
can
think
cause
so,
hell
too.
if you get on the wrong side of
Oh my
it.
God, yeah.
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 So I want to be on their good side.
Yeah.
And I would always stress a lot being up there. Like I couldn't be myself. And then
I
probably
have
after
that too, though. To be honest.
Oh, yeah, still?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, after about like 4 years of marriage, going up there every year for 4
Yeah.
years, I finally like let go. And now I like don't care
Yeah.
if they don't like me anymore. And I'm not like a jerk or anything,
Yeah.
of course. I want to be nice and
Yeah.
polite, but I'm not worried about doing some sort of a faux pas.
Yeah.
So like, but the thing about them though is that they clearly see that I love my wife,
Mhm.
that I care about her. And
Yeah.
I think because I'm more overtly affectionate just because that's my culture, I think Natsu's mom sees that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's so nice, And so she's warmed up to me a lot. I remember the first time I met her, she like didn't smile at all to me, and like if I looked her in the eye, she'd like cower, like back off, like, why are you looking at me, So that's changed a lot. That's good, but the communication style is also different. It's more indirect. But one thing that is kind of awkward for me now is my wife is part of their family. My kids are part of their family. I'm like halfway in their family. I'm still outside. And like one thing that really caught me with this was, my wife's family, they have some rice fields in Niigata. Great. Never had to pay for rice once since I got married.
Yeah,
That's
same.
not the reason I
It's
married
great.
my wife, but it's a nice perk.
Great.
It's a nice perk.
Yeah.
But I remember one time she was gonna go up. We were gonna go up to help with work in the rice fields, just because you're part of the family, you do that.
Yeah.
And I think for some reason Natsumi couldn't do that. She had to cancel. I said, okay, I'll go up. I'm invested in this. I want to help you guys out. I'm like, no, you don't need to come up. It's fine. So, oh, but I'd like to experience this. This is like a cultural thing. No, you don't need to do that, man. It's like, oh, okay, sure. And then just like last month, my kids went up to Niigata and they did that with the family. It's like, oh, cool.
I think some of the things that like really broke through the barrier, on my side, where I feel like pretty comfortable with my wife's family, is I've spent a lot of time around them.
Yeah.
When Yui's not around.
Yeah.
Because like both of my child births
Mm-hmm.
have been a little bit dramatic.
Yeah.
When my first daughter was born, Luna, she was 2 weeks late.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was so touch and go, like during that month-long period, like the 2 weeks before.
Yeah, I
And then
remember.
the 2 weeks after, it was so touch and go on like when she's gonna go into labor, that she I think 3 weeks before, it's either 3 or 2 weeks before she ended up giving birth, she like just full admitted to the hospital.
Yeah.
And was just living in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent about 2 weeks with her parents.
Mm-hmm.
just living there. This is like us three. This is like just her two parents and then me. Spent a lot of time there. After she gave birth, she stayed there for a little bit, and then she came back to Tokyo with me. And then her mom came up to stay with us for, I think, like a month.
Okay, great.
Or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was exactly a month, but it was at least like a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of time with her there. And then the same thing with my second daughter when she was born. I mean, there was a lot of complications.
Yeah.
And Yui was in the hospital for like almost 2 months.
Yeah.
Right. And I spent all summer down in Oita.
Yeah.
And a good chunk of that was just like, once again, just me with her parents.
Yeah.
And it like there were stressful times because like my Japanese still, like I'm not fluent in Japanese. I'm good enough to survive. I can have a conversation with somebody and not have it like, you know, I'm not like, watashi wa hamburger ga suki desu.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Like, I've evolved past that, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm still not exactly fluid. And there's a lot of times where I'll run into a language barrier that I really want to say something, but I don't have the language skills to say it. And that is such a frustrating experience.
Yeah, right.
Where it's just like, I really want to voice my opinion, especially like there were a lot of times where we would be riding in the car to the hospital and there would be like decisions being made about my child.
Yeah.
That Yui and her mom would be discussing.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I don't know what we want to do with this. And like I said, my Japanese is good enough that I can understand what's happening.
Yeah.
But it's not good enough that I can chime in and start voicing my opinion. And there were a couple times in the car that I would feel like really angry.
Yeah.
And not necessarily angry at, you know, one of them.
Yeah.
But I feel angry towards myself that I was like, I want to communicate and be part of this discussion because it's very important to me, but my ability isn't there yet.
You should join my program. I can help you with that. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm shooting for. Just the opposite way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but it's such a reality though.
Yeah,
because you know you can be the kind of person. And it's like this episode isn't about language ability, but I think it's relevant in this context
for international marriage.
You know, you can be somebody who's like, yeah, I'm confident in English or I'm confident in Japanese, but it's like when you get in these real life scenarios where it's just like something just kind of hits you and it's like it's something that's very relevant to you that you really want to communicate about, but you don't have the ability to do so.
Yeah.
That is really frustrating.
Yeah.
And
no, I get that. I really understand that frustration. Like you feel like there's still like a wall between you and you can't overcome that, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're in an international marriage and you're going to deal with that, because my wife,
absolutely.
My wife Natsumi dealt with that too.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny you said that you spent a lot of like alone time or one-on-one time with the in-laws.
Yeah.
Because Natsumi did the same thing. Because when we would come back to the
family?
States, because I was working. I had to work. But my mom doesn't work. And my sister would be visiting a lot and she would work or she'd like take time off. So she spent a lot of time with my mom and my sister.
Yeah.
And they became really close and they kind of know each other really well now.
I actually think it's generally a really good thing for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true. And I think it's good. And you know, for the first few years, they'd say, "Natsumi, your English has gotten so much better." It's because she's practicing with them. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, another thing, we've been kind of ragging on like, you know, international marriage and talking about a lot of cons, but like maybe we can shift over to some pros in the latter half of this, because one of the things that I really feel like I really feel lucky to be married to a Japanese person is I feel like my home life is so like structured.
Okay.
I guess if that's the correct word for it, you know, like growing up, and you know, maybe this is just my own personal experience. Growing up in my family, I never felt like a family.
Oh, really?
And it's not like my parents treated me poorly. It's not like I didn't have a relationship with my brother and sisters. But it never felt like a family.
Okay.
It felt like, there were times that it's like I feel like a connection with these people, but I never got to experience like, all right, hey, we're gonna all sit down as a family.
Yeah.
And eat together. And this is just dinner. It's not like, some special event like Thanksgiving, right? It's like we're all sitting down and we're going to do this. Hey, we're going to all sit down and, we're going to work on something together. Like, this is going to go in a little bit of Austin therapy session, but like, I never got any like assistance when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, my parents never like sat down and like, did homework with me.
Yeah.
Or if they did, it was like maybe once or twice, but it was never a routine.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like there's so much emphasis put on family time here in Japan.
Okay.
That I don't have to worry that that's going to be a thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I think so. That's kind of in your situation as being married to like a Japanese person, because I think in the States, people really do tend to live their separate lives, but in the same house. You know, like, because when I was young, I'd eat dinner with my family, but then I remember once I got into like later middle school, high school, we never really ate together at all.
No.
And that's kind of like right. Yeah. But one thing though that I think is kind of applicable to both sides is that, and I think this makes sense. What this is applicable when you live in the country of your spouse.
Sure.
Is that my cultural, not necessarily integration, but I had the Japanese words coming up, but I don't know in English, like the like fureta koto. Like I'm much more in touch with the local Japanese culture than like, let's say if I was married to another foreigner who lived in Japan.
Okay.
Just because the way of thinking, the kind of expectations, the rhythm of life, like the way we celebrate Tanabata, the way that we celebrate, what's the one where you eat the ehomaki and you throw the beans at the setsubun? Yeah. So like I could read about Japanese culture and say, okay, in Japanese culture at this day you do this.
Yeah.
But I don't have that like background of memory and culture that my wife has. And so I feel much more integrated into Japan now because of that.
I agree.
And so I feel like I can, it's my experience living here is much better because of that.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's funny you brought up like the personal time, because I think that is one thing that I really, really struggle with here in Japan.
Yeah.
Is just how little privacy there is.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because like when you think of Japan, you think of it as a very private country.
Yeah.
But that is absolutely not the case when it comes to home life.
Yeah.
Everyone is in one room all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And I hate that. It drives me insane.
And the doors and the walls are really thin, so you can hear everyone.
I have such massive amounts of anxiety when like I'll tell you, I have it the most when I'm staying over at my in-laws. I have so much anxiety.
Because do they live in a house with like tatami and stuff like that? Yeah.
And that's where we stay.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like I really want to say, like I don't know if they're going to watch this. Sometimes they watch our videos. But like I want to say, like I enjoy my time there. It has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with like me and my personal space.
Yeah.
Because I hate being in public spaces.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate going to the mall. I hate being on the train. I don't want to be around people.
Okay.
If at all possible. And it's weird because like I'm a social person.
Yeah.
So it's like
I get it. When you're in like your social mode, it's fine. When you're
you're
not in your social mode, it's like get away.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like when I want to be in my private time, like I don't even want to be around my wife and kids.
Yeah.
And like again, this isn't a thing of me like disliking them or trying to push them away. It's just I need my personal time.
Yeah.
And like I'll give you an example is when I'm at home, usually what will happen is like on a daily thing, right? Like this is a normal weekday. I'll get home around like 3:34. Sometimes I'll go pick up my daughter from Hoikuen, or sometimes my wife will. But regardless, like we'll all spend time together, kind of hanging out, and then we'll do bath time, and then dinner, and then kind of wind down time, where it's like we kind of split up responsibilities. So like I'll usually take my younger daughter, and like I'm kind of like in charge of getting her to go to sleep, and then Yui's in charge of getting Luna to go to sleep. And that's usually around like 7. And then sometimes we'll watch like a TV show or a movie or something, or just kind of hang out. And then like usually around like 8:30 or 9, I'll go back to like my man room. And I'll play like video games, or I'll do like some kind of hobby, or I'll do work for tomorrow. I'll do something to just kind of like isolate myself. And I'll usually do that for about 2 or 3 hours. Right. And it's so crucial to me to have that time. But it's so conflicting with how things are in Japanese family life.
It's funny you mention that, because I see that with everyone in my family when they come and visit, because my wife and her parents, when it's on a vacation day, like you said, they're all together 100% of the day, right?
All the time.
And what I see with myself is I'm super engaged with my kids and my family. And then I need to retreat to my room for a little while and recharge. And then I come back again. And it's not just me. My sister's like that. My mom's like that. My dad's like that. And I think it comes back to, because in the States, you really have a big focus on you're an individual. You have your my time. And so you are separate. Like when you think about a house, it's not uncommon for people to be in separate rooms and not talk to each other for long periods of time.
Right?
And part of that is because the houses are bigger, I think. But like, I remember when I would like retreat to my room to like kind of have my space, And so it's funny because like my wife, when she sees that, she's like, oh, do they not want to be like around us or something? Do they not like us that they have to get charged,
So I've had discussions with a lot of people here in Japan, and I've talked about it with my wife, and a lot of people can take that very personally here, because they're just like, well, I mean, if you think about it, right, in the context of Japanese culture, if somebody's doing that, it kind of means like, I don't want to be around you, right? But it's like, it's so hard to communicate. It's like, look, as an American, I need this. I can't stand being around people 24/7. I will go crazy. Right? It's so hard to communicate that.
And it's funny because then you have like, so on our side, we have our thing where it's natural to us, but it seems cold to our spouses. But then with like the communication style is so different.
It's
that
the
seems like it's
opposite,
colder
right?
to us,
It's like, just say something.
And so like I said, I feel like with when you marry someone of a different culture, there are a lot of barriers to it. But there's also a lot more richness in that, for like life experience.
I think one of the really cool things that you get set up. That's not where. One of the really cool things about marrying a Japanese person, and I don't think this is really unique to marrying a Japanese person, but it's marrying a person who's from a different culture than you, I think it's very easy to develop a deep relationship because you guys are both starting at ground zero, and you have to literally build a life together, because it's like both of you can't marry somebody from a different culture and have like this kind of relationship. You know what I mean? It's like you both kind of have to start at ground zero, and you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to meet this person halfway.
And it's like you can't really work based on assumptions. Assumptions go out the window, so you have to, like you said, start from zero.
Because it's like, it's so crazy. Like, even living here in Japan, you won't understand how differently people think than Americans until you're married to a Japanese person. And then you're just like, how did you reach that conclusion?
Yeah, right.
That makes no logical sense. And then the other person will be like, what are you talking about? This is so obvious.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean?
Exactly.
And it's like, there's this fundamentally different way that people think in two countries.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's like, and it's good. It helps you grow as a person. And like, I'm not saying like if I married an American person, my life would be like have less depth or something. But but at the end of the day, though, I gotta say, we talk about international marriage, and it's kind of hard for me to talk about the pros of international marriage, not because there are none, but because I know my wife is Japanese and I'm American, and that our cultures are different. But honestly, I just see her as like another human.
Yeah.
So I don't really see like our differences. I mean, there's some of our differences are because of culture, but it could just be like we're just two different people,
Yeah.
And you have to get to know each other anyways. And it's not like, I talk to all these people saying, man, it'd be so good to marry like a Japanese woman, or, oh, it'd be so nice to marry a Western guy, Like they have all these assumptions, but at the end of the day, we're just people, And
no, it's true.
It's not true. Like super, super different. There's just more.
Yeah.
There's more benefits, but there's also more like complications too.
Yeah. I think this is going to sound really misogynistic, but I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
Like, I don't think I could marry an American woman. And the reason why I'm making that statement is because I'm a very opinionated person.
Yeah.
And I think, American women are also very opinionated because, they're American.
Yeah.
And I think it would be impossible for me to live with another person who injects their opinion as much as I do.
Right.
There would just be fighting constantly.
Yeah.
So like the way I think of it is I'm very lucky to have married a Japanese woman who doesn't constantly bombard me with stupid opinions like I do onto her.
I mean, so like,
you know what I mean?
Like, you need to have your yin and yang, right?
Yeah.
So if it's yin and yin, it doesn't work. You have to have the opposites, So it works out.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about this for a while already.
Yeah.
So in our next episode, we're going to be talking about people and things that have influenced us in our ways of thinking and stuff. Which is not
reflection.
A little bit of reflection.
Let's go ask ChatGPT what it thinks about this.
ChatGPT, who has influenced me in my life? Check my chat history.
Well, Arthur, I think that the people who've influenced you the most in your life are probably the people who've like really influenced you a lot in your life.
Yes.
And if you'd like to talk about that, and what do you think, Arthur?
Dude,
who do you think are the people that have influenced?
I'm releasing that video on my main channel today. I can't wait for the reaction to that. Yeah. I mean, I'll talk to you.
Don't get advice from AI, please.
Yeah.
I love AI, but just it's a tool, not a person.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, but that's a whole nother episode. I'll talk to you next time, man. どうでしたか？ネイティブの英語って教科書の英語と全然違いますよね。日本の普通が外国人にどう見えているのか面白い発見がありましたか？この動画では教科書にはないいろんな英語を学べたと思います。でも実際に話せるようになるには英語を勉強するだけじゃ足りないんです。多くの英語を勉強している日本人の方はフレーズや文法をたくさん学んでいるのに、いざ外国人を目の前にすると頭が真っ白になって言葉が出てこないっていう問題がよくありますよね。なぜかっていうと、フレーズや文法の知識はあっても実際に話す感覚がないからなんです。僕もそうでした。その経験に基づいて英語を実際に話す感覚を身につける世界とつながるメソッドを開発して、それを広めるためには、IU-Connect というスクールを立ち上げました。おかげさまで IU-Connect を通してこれまで数百人の生徒さんが外国人と気軽に自信を持って話せるようになっています。今までの英語学習で満足しているなら、ぜひこちらの動画をご覧ください。でも終わりのない英語学習をやめて実際に英語を話せるようになりたい方のためには、その英語を話す感覚を身につける方法がわかる無料動画講座を作りました。僕と僕の数百人の生徒が実際にやっと話せるようになった方法です。登録するには、こちらをタップするか概要欄にあるリンクをタップして、ぜひご登録ください。As always, enjoy your English adventures and これからも一緒に世界とつながりましょう。See you next time! どうでしたか？ネイティブの英語って